Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well, staying golden, per usual. I have so much crap on this couch, but you can't see it, so that's good for me. Gonna just see like a shadow now. But yeah, hope everyone's doing well, adjusting to winter time. Well, I guess it's not officially winter yet. I think it's still fall technically. But yeah, hopefully everyone's adjusting. I'm having a time. I don't know if it's a super hard time, but it just feels like everything's much later than it actually is because the sun goes down at like 5, so then you're like, oh, it must be like 8 o'clock, and it's not, especially when you're at work like me and you work at night, so it's like very different. But yeah, today we're going to talk about a man who had an insane life, at least to me anyway. But sometimes what I do is I get like obsessive about a fact or a person or like a thing, and I just have to research it to death. So that's what I did this week. So I'm going to be talking about the infamous artist Chalino Sánchez. He had a wild life, but who was Chalino? Selena. Ooh, I cannot talk today. I tried to film this before. I was butchering it up. Who was Chalino Sánchez? Say that 5 times fast. Sánchez was a Mexican singer and songwriter. He specialized on genres native to Mexico and corridos, which we'll get into that in a second. I'm just going to give a very overview. I have my notes, as y'all can see, but I'm going to try to like skim it and not do too much because I remember. Oh, also this video was inspired by DeBurk321's video on the Sánchez, so I will leave that in the description because I think he did a really great job. There are also other videos on him, but I was like, I'll make my own too. So, hey. So basically, he was born in. Does not have his birthday. How did I copy and paste this and then include the birthday? But he was born Rosalino Feliz Sánchez, born on a farm called El Gallabo. I hope I'm not saying any of these wrong. It was a small ranch in Sonora, Mexico. Listen, y'all, I took Spanish for way too long to be mispronouncing everything, but it's gonna happen. He was the youngest of 7 children. His father's name was Santos, and his mother's name was Senorina. And he grew up poor and had a difficult life. His sister Juana called him curious and mischievous as a child who always dreamed of becoming a singer. Like I said, his birth name was Rosalino, but then he changed it to a nickname, which was Chalino, which I think I should have looked more into, but I didn't. So we're here. In 1975, at the age of 15, his sister was raped by a man named Chapo Perez. He was a rich and dangerous man, which is this is really insane because he did do a lot of crime when he was growing up, and to survive. Because in DeBurk321's video, he talks about how when the father passed away, it became a lot harder for them. Which there's a theme in this kind of family. It's like father, son, father, son, father, son, passing away or getting killed. So we're gonna get to that. So 2 years later, so Chalino is 17. Okay, as I told you, he was involved in crimes. He was doing the fast life. Okay, he saw the man that raped his sister, right? And apparently he shot him and killed him in revenge. And then he fled to Tijuana with his gun and a Jesus Malverde chain. So when I looked it up, Jesus Malverde is like a bad Jesus. And it's like a cultural icon. So that's like, part of the legend. And that made me really curious because he's just so shrouded in like his life was just sounds like so, excuse me, chaotic and like. Now I'm not saying he shouldn't have got revenge for his sister. Because, I mean, hey, you do what you gotta do. But that's a wild life. But that's not even the wildest part, y'all. We're gonna get into some things. Okay. So he ended up being what they call a coyote. I think that's how you say it in English. I know it's probably not how you say it in Spanish. Where he would smuggle immigrants across the United States border from Mexico. So he would do that. He would sell drugs. I remember that from DeBurke's video. He washed dishes, sold cars. And he helped his brother Armando run an immigrant smuggling operation, which, let me tell you something. Poor Armando. I think that was the brother who got killed. But yeah, because he killed his sister's rapist, I think somebody who knew the rapist killed the brother. So then that, like, catapulted him, like, later on to start his music career. But DeBurke 321 goes really in detail about it. Chalino was married to Maricela Vallejos. I hope I said that right. And they met through his cousin, and they were married in a simple ceremony in 1984. They had 2 children, Adon and Cynthia. And they were married until his death in 1992, which we'll get to that. That's a bit of a crazy part. But let me tell you something. The son, Adon, also passed away. After his dad died, he kept on his legacy. He kept singing, and he would, to honor his father. But people are really suspicious of his death. As I looked in the YouTube comments, they say he died in a car accident, but people are really suspicious of that. Which I'm like, I'm not surprised that they would be suspicious, but it's kind of like first the granddad died, then Chalino was killed, and then the son. They say he died in that car accident, but people are suspicious of it. There's a lot going on. Also, Cynthia Sánchez, I was not able to find nothing, like 0 on this woman. So she's apparently still alive, but there's not a lot out there on her. That's all I could find. The wife, Maricela, she did in 2008, I think it said, she moved to the United States. Which I'm like, how do you, I don't know. Because with the father's life, with Chalino's life, how you just live in Mexico and not worry about, is somebody coming after me? Okay. That would be nerve-wracking to me. Okay, so then there was the 1992 Coachella incident. So this is January 25th, 1992. Chalino was performing at Los Arcos nightclub in the desert city of Coachella, which is in California, as you know from the Coachella Festival. So there was a man, his name was Eduardo Gallegos. He was 34. He was a local unemployed mechanic, which they decided to add that. Like, dang, you gotta put my whole profession in there. But I mean, he was crazy. So basically, he was drunk, and he started shooting at Chalino, and then Chalino started shooting back. Let me see what else happened. There were 400 people there, but yeah, they basically. So what DeBurke said in his video was, they were shooting at each other, and then Eduardo jumps into the audience, like, to hide, I guess, but he's still shooting. So he hasn't stopped shooting. Can you imagine you had a concert and then people just start shooting? I guess it wasn't like a concert like a big concert, but like 400 people, that's still a lot of people for you to be shooting. So then he was shooting from the crowd, and then Chalino was shooting into the crowd. No. Oh my gosh, that would be so scary. Okay, so Chalino was shot. There were 7 to 10 people were reportedly hit in the exchange. So 7 to 10 people reportedly were shot. So can you imagine you going to a concert and you get shot? I would never go out again, y'all. Okay, and then what happened? Okay, so then eventually, so a Chalino was shot, and then his accordionist, I guess the person who plays the accordion, was shot as well. And this 20-year-old man, a local man, 20-year-old Clyde Claudio Rene Carranza was killed, unfortunately. And then a bystander had to wrestle Eduardo, the drunk guy who was shooting. They had to wrestle him to the ground, and they shot him in the mouth with his own gun. Chalino ended up being in critical condition, but he made it. He made it. After this incident, he made it. So basically, the shooting was like a huge deal. So it like was all on like a bunch of news stations, ABC World News, as well as both U.S. and Spanish-speaking newspapers. So it just catapulted him to success. And his song "Nieros de Irino," which was not about any drugs, became really popular, which is interesting. And then he had another show in Los Angeles at the El Parel, and the doors had to be closed at 6 p.m. because they had already sold out. So I know that he was a little reluctant to be like thrust into the fame like that. Could you imagine? Like, you're like, yeah, I got into a shootout at one of my shows and now I'm famous. Like, I understand his hesitation. It's like, you know, I'm getting famous because somebody tried to kill me. I mean, that's kind of weird. So now I'm gonna talk about his music after I talk about his life, which, like I said, was really crazy, as you can see. And also, I kind of talk about this in my poem more, but I didn't put this in my notes. But yeah, when he was in jail at one point, he would write corridos for other people and tell their stories. And so that's how he, grew his talent. And I want to say he got signed to a record label after he got out of jail. But I think it might have been after the Coachella incident, though. Because he was like a local, celebrity. And then the Coachella incident happened and it was like, boom, he's on. They took him off. They took off with that. So, yeah, and he was selling his tapes out of the trunk of his car. And then he officially got a record deal. He made a 15-track CD. So, yeah, I did listen to 2 of his songs, so we're going to talk about it. But we're going to talk about his murder. So, the Coachella incident happened in January, and then 4 months later, in May 1992, he was performing, which I saw the video, so I'm going to include the video of him getting the death note. Real life death note. But yeah, he was performing, and I can't even say that word, but he was in Siluacan. Sorry, y'all. And an audience member gave him a note, and he reads it. And y'all, the man looked nervous. He was like this. He was like, whew. He was wiping his brow, but you know what? He crumpled up that note and he kept going. Even though it said, hey, if you keep performing, we're going to kill you. Now, let me just tell y'all, if I get a death note and I'm performing, the show is over. The show is over. We're all going home. We're out of here. But you know what? I watched the video and he did really good. Of course, I don't know what he's saying, but he sounded good to me. You know what I mean? So yeah. It says Chalino looked around nervously for a few seconds before resuming his show with all the passion he was known for, despite knowing this would probably be his last show. Can you imagine that? You get a death threat at your show and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna make it count. I'm gonna give a really great show. And he did. But I don't like that. No. You sending me a death threat at my show? I'm gone. Okay, so it says after midnight, he was driving away in the club with 2 of his brothers, a cousin, and several women. So basically, they got pulled over by an unmarked police car. And what else was part of the story? They were looking at everybody's ID card. They showed their police state ID cards and told Chalino the commander wanted to see him, and he agreed, and he got into one of their cars. Let me just tell you something. I know police in the U.S. are pretty bad, but are really bad. And I feel like police all over the world are not the greatest. But you want me to go? Now, granted, I mean, if you get arrested, uh, you in the car by yourself most of the time. So, I mean, what can you do? But yeah, I don't know. I don't like that. That didn't feel right to me. You want me to go with you by myself? I guess, I mean, they're the police. So what was he gonna say? I mean, they could have just took him anyway. I guess that's what he figured. But yeah, the next day somebody found him on a farm in an irrigation canal, and he was tied up and blind. His wrists were tied up, and he was blindfolded, and he was shot in the back of the head. So after I get the death note, and then these police officers want me to go along with them, I would be very suspicious. But maybe he was like, maybe he figured, well, I have no other choice. But I feel like they probably would have got him at some point. But yeah, that's really something. But yeah, so nobody was ever arrested. And he was put out by the Sinaloa State police officers. So he was probably executed because he killed the rapist of his sister, and then they killed his brother. So then I guess they just kept going down the line, which is just crazy. So I know that like rape is used as a power move for like mafia and gangs and things like that, but you upset with me because I killed your rapist? I don't know if he was a leader or anything, but I killed one of your rapist members. Like, I guess, hey, they said they need revenge, so they didn't already killed his brother. So I'm like, what else would they were gonna do? But yeah, the police worked on behalf of the Sinaloa cartel. So they would work with this cartel and do their dirty work. Can you imagine? Police officers like, yeah, we just work for the mafia, and we just kill people on their behalf. Like, so nobody was ever arrested because they're the police, and it's just like a theme. This was in 1992, and they're still getting away with stuff. So all over the world, probably. But yeah, so that was how his life ended. And then when his son grew up, he became a Corrido singer as well. And, just carried on his legacy. And then he ended up dying, suspiciously apparently, in a car accident. And people think that maybe he was shot and it was staged like a car accident as well. Like his dad was shot. That's just a crazy thing. And so I was looking up, what is our corrido? The corrido is a popular narrative metric tale in poetry that forms a ballad. The songs are often about oppression, history, daily life for criminals, the vaquero lifestyle, which is like a horseman when I looked it up. Like if you're a rancher, I guess. And other socially relevant topics. So I looked up 2 of his songs that I could find in English. And let me tell you something. It was crazy. Like I know like some songs in English. Like I know every language has like, I don't know if every language has like, yeah, I know every language has songs that sound good, but then when you listen, it's really creepy. But yeah, so I looked up Trista Villegas. Trista Villegas. I hope I'm saying this name wrong. If I'm saying this name right. If I am not, please forgive me. But yeah, it was a very traumatic story, and it was very detailed. I'm just trying to see, how do you sing about this? Now, granted, his life, he probably seen a bunch of stuff. He was in and out of jail a lot, in and out of prison a lot. He was doing a lot of illegal things. He killed someone, so he probably saw like a lot going on. Of course, my mom is blending up there, so you can hear it. Hopefully not. But yeah, so it gives you the imagery of what happened to this man and why. There were 14 gunmen that killed him at a tire store, which I'm like, do you need that many people? He was killed by 60 bullets, so they didn't have to pay him back, and was laughing while doing it. So when I looked at the song again after I had written my notes, and basically they didn't want to pay back a debt they owed this man, and I guess they were afraid of him. Which I'm like, you could just pay the debt. Why you gotta kill the man? Especially like with 14 of y'all. Do you need 14 people to kill one person? I don't know. But yeah. And they were laughing while doing it, which is the craziest part. One of the craziest parts. And then there was El Crimen de Cula, Cul, Siluacan. See, I'm gonna say that wrong. That whole video. But it was two men. One was, they were both named Francisco. One was called Francisco Lopez, and the other was Francisco Beltran. So Lopez had an overdue accounts, which I'm guessing he owed money to like some gangsters, and then and was rightfully killed. And he rightfully killed the one who stole his beloved. I mean, if you steal somebody's beloved, what you gonna do? I'm not saying kill him. Don't kill nobody that steals your boo. But I mean, he took his beloved. Anyway, and Beltran wasn't guilty of anything, so they just killed him because I don't know. Maybe he was just there. They were both tortured and run over so bad their insides were out, and dogs had started to eat them by the time they were found. He says this in the song in a lot of detail, just like in the other Tista Villegas. He describes, like, you know how people like talk about how bullets can make you like jump. He talks about that in the story, so that's really disturbing. But yeah, he goes into great detail. And the mothers were grieving horribly, which of course, you know, if your sons are dying, or your son's not dying, if your sons get killed, you're gonna be real sad. That's your child dying before you. And then he has a message at the end. So the main message was, with this one I say goodbye, and I tell you in my sing that bad companies have nothing good to leave. I say it for the Corrido, don't forget them. Which makes like sense kind of for his life. Not kind of. It makes sense for his life because he was in a lot of bad companies apparently. And that's how he got killed. But yeah, I tried to write my own Corrido, and I'm gonna say this name wrong once again, but it's called Another Crime in Siluacan. It's inspired by the El Crimen de Siluacan, that song. So I wrote my own. I can't sing, so it's not gonna be sung. It's just basically about his life. So I thought that'd be interesting to do. There once was a talented musician named Chalino Sánchez. He lived a rough life in his hometown, but he escaped to Tijuana once he killed his sister's rapist. To continue his life of crime, in jail he realized he could make money writing corridos for his fellow inmates. He told anyone's story who wanted it told. After he left prison, he soon was selling his tapes out of his trunk. Before, he would smuggle people across the Mexican border or sell drugs just to get by. But once he realized his talent, it was only a matter of time before he became big. So this paragraph is going to annoy me because everything else is 4 stanzas, but here we go. Unfortunately, at one of his shows, there was a madman and a shootout happened. Despite him being shot and two people being killed, including the madman, the news of the event catapulted Sánchez into the spotlight. Chalino was hesitant about his fame, but continued to improve. He was able to get a record deal and support his family, married his girlfriend, and they had 2 kids. But Chalino's old life wasn't far away from him. One night, he got a note threatening his life. He crumpled it up and performed the best he ever had. After the show, him and his cousins got pulled over. He was told to go with the police alone. Unfortunately, whoever the note was from, they had the police on their side. Poor Chalino was found blindfolded in a ditch with a single gunshot wound to his head. Chalino lived a wild life. Chalino tried to change his life. However, old demons are hard to shake. Chalino's impact, however, didn't die with him. Learn from him that everybody wants revenge. So yeah, that's the life of Chalino Sánchez. I hope you all, if you have never heard of him, I hope that you will research him because it's crazy. But I did enjoy his music. I watched the performance of him when he got the note, and it was really good. And I listened to the other 2 songs with the English subtitles because I am not fluent in Spanish, like I said, and they were good too. I don't know. If I knew Spanish, could you sit here and I'm not saying that you can't enjoy it because it has good music in the background, but with the words. It's just a lot. And I know that rappers and like singers and all kinds of things for, American music, we can be graphic too, but that is also hard for me. So, but yeah, he was well loved and still popular. So his legacy lives on. But yeah, hopefully, if you didn't know about him, you know about him now, and you will go listen to his music because I think it is really good. And I will see you all next week.